Well, hello and welcome to Off the Stone Sharpening. Thank you for joining me today. It has been forever since I posted a video. I apologize, I've been quite busy and yeah, lots been going on. However, today I felt inclined, or maybe I should say compelled to do a review of this beautiful knife here. This inexpensive Meijer chef's knife. And some of my favorite stones, which I have right in front of me, some Arkansas stones. One fun question to answer. Are Arkansas stones relevant for today? Do they even sharpen anything? Hey Frankie, they do a pretty good job, depending on the steel. Depending on the steel. That is the ticket. So, let's get into the action. I have 4 stones here. There are many grades of Arkansas. In fact, if we start from coarsest and go to finest, you have the Washita, the soft, the hard, you could say the true hard next, or the translucent, the black, and then the blue black. And I was actually unaware of the blue black until I had watched Rough Rooster's channel, and he had mentioned this Arkansas stone that was finer than the black. And I've had a lot of experience with the black, and the edge that a black Arkansas will leave is just surgically sharp. It is ridiculous. So I was a little bit skeptical on there being a stone that is more fine than the black. However, he was right, and I called Dan's up, and they were right. It is finer, but I'll get to that stone, which is right here. So starting with my coarsest stone, I'm not going to go through all the grades right now. This is just what I used for this chef's knife, and I will review this chef's knife after I talk about the stones for a little bit. This little beauty right here, still got some paper towel on there. This guy right here is the Washita. Now, Washitas are the coarsest, I think they're the coarsest natural sharpening stone that there is, and they're definitely the coarsest Arkansas stone. So this little beauty is great. If I had to guess what grit this would be, I'd say somewhere around 500. Maybe it's less, maybe it's more of like a 400. But Arkansas stones are measured by their density. They don't have an actual grit that can be tested. But an approximate grit that I would give this is 5. I think Dan's website says 400 to 600 maybe. That's what these can range from. But I would guess this to be a 5. It removes metal very well, especially for a natural stone, and I absolutely love using this to reprofile, depending on the steel of course, a softer steel. It's great for reprofiling. In fact, I had just gotten this knife and ended up putting a new edge on it. I tried to use this a little bit. I didn't use this on vegetables or anything. I just wanted to see if this knife would shave when I got it, and it would. I mean, it tried to. I'll give it that. So it wouldn't really shave my hair, but I'm sure it would cut some vegetables semi-decently. So anyways, I reprofiled it with this. And this, not only is it just beautiful, all the orange in there, all the layers and then the orange, but it has a nice coarse. It's nice and coarse, so it cuts steel very well. After him is the lovely hard. Now the hard is a very awesome stone. This stone can be used obviously right after a soft Arkansas, right after a Washita. It's a nice fine stone. You're probably around 800 to 1,000. I think that's what Dan's website says. I'm sure this is around there. I'm not sure exactly. Like I said, if I could guess, it's probably around 1,000. It leaves a very fine edge. Now, for this kind of knife, a chef's knife, and doing tasks in the kitchen, I could stop at the Washita and have great results. But obviously, I don't want to just have great results. I want to have ridiculous results because I'm crazy. But anyways, so even if you stopped at the Washita, you'd be good. If you went even to the hard after that, I mean, your knife's going to be extremely sharp. And what's good about this stone is, let's say I use this enough to dull it decently. If I just want to restore the edge, put a good edge on it, I could just go to this hard and put a burr on there, take the burr off, and this would be very usable. And so it's a good maintenance stone. If you don't dull your edge to a ridiculous point, if you just use it until it dulls and you don't wait until the thing, can't cut anything, this is a great stone to use. for that. Next in line, my favorite of favorites, even though this one is definitely an amazing stone. Look at that beauty. I mean, that thing is just absolutely gorgeous. So this is the black. And this guy right here, when you get to the stone after you've sharpened on coarser stones, it literally feels like a sheet of glass. I mean, I don't know if the camera's picking up the luster on that stone, but this thing, literally, it's almost sometimes hard to feel if you're on the right angle because it's just so smooth. But when you go from these two stones, go from the Washita to the hard to this, and you just, touch how feel how the burr is getting, it just gets so sharp by the time it's on this stone. This stone is just, can't say enough about it. If you were to own any Arkansas stone, I would highly recommend the black. If you have, obviously, abrasives that can be before this. Obviously, I wouldn't go, if this knife was dull, I'm not just going to go to a black. You'll find that it's pointless in my opinion. I've tried, and you may get a result, but you're not going to get the same result as going from a coarse to the black. So when sharpening knives, start coarse, work your way up to fine, ultra fine, crazy, ridiculous fine. You'll find that is, I guess this is opinion based. I'm sure most sharpeners would agree. You're wasting your time. If this knife is just absolutely ridiculously dull, and I just go to this blue black, I'm wasting my time essentially. I may be able to put an edge on there, and it may work, but if I work from the Washita and work my way up to the stone, I'm going to get a ridiculously sharp knife by the time I'm done with this stone. So anyways, that is the black. Absolutely beautiful, amazing stone. Burrfection, if you like Burrfection's channel, he did some sharpening on some Arkansas stones. I believe he had the soft, hard, translucent, and black. The black was his favorite, and I can understand why. The tactile feel when you're grinding on that little thing, it's just amazing. So, the mystery stone, the blue black. This is a very interesting stone. I was very skeptical about this stone. I really, really didn't think it would be finer than this black, because I'd kind of messed with it and I didn't get great results, but it was definitely not the stone's fault, and I didn't blame the stone. I wanted to keep sharpening until I felt like I could use this where it was actually being used correctly. And so anyways, this is such an interesting stone tactily. How it feels, it feels more like a translucent than a black to me. But the funny thing about this stone, if you can see the color, it almost looks like a translucent, but it looks like a light black too. So what you have is, I like how Rough Rooster put it, it's like as if the translucent and the black had a baby. That would be this stone. So yeah, the feel of it when you're running your knife across feels more like a translucent to me, and the way it cuts, kind of cuts similar to a translucent. The way when I'm done getting a burr on one side of the knife and I touch the edge of the knife, it gives me a very similar feel. It actually didn't feel as fine as the black when I used it, but it definitely was. My end result, as you'll see, like I said, if you just want to skip ahead and see the cut test, you'll see this knife got insanely sharp. But I've sharpened the same knife on just these first three stones, and then I got this one and I sharpened with all four. The results of this one compared to the other one, they're both very sharp knives, but this one got way sharper by using this last in the stone progression I used. So it's a very interesting stone. You don't even see it really advertised by, you don't even see Washitas really advertised by any of these companies that sell Arkansas stones. You'll find Washitas if you look at some of the facts and forums on Dan's website, but you have to ask about the Washita and the blue black. In fact, when I called Dan's, they said, "How'd you find out about the blue black stone?" And I said, "Well, I was watching YouTube and I came across Rough Rooster's channel and he had one and he mentioned it was finer, and I was wondering, is it really finer?" And They said, yeah, it is a bit finer than the black. And I said, well, do you have any? And they had limited stock, but luckily they had this 5 inch. So it's a 5x2 by ½ inch. Luckily they had this, and this little guy, if you want to put, I guess, surgical sharp edge on your knife, it's ridiculous. And if I had to guess a grit rating for, since I didn't talk about this, a grit rating for the black and then the blue black, I mean, it's hard to say. This, I would say, is at least, the black would have to be at least a 4 to 5, 4 to 6,000, and this guy maybe 6 to 10, maybe even more. I'm not sure. Like I said, these are measured in density. They don't have actual grit ratings, but just from the edge I have, that'd be my guess. So anyways, if you have steels like this one, this is a high carbon stainless steel. So if you go to like Meijer, Target, Walmart, whatever, and you find one of their kitchen knives, the cheap $10, $15, $20 knives that they sell, the chef's knives, even their other knives, the high carbon stainless steels, these stones do absolutely incredible for. I mean, which makes sense because the steel matrix is not super complex, doesn't have super hard other elements in there. So these stones for this type of knife are a fantastic abrasive. Now, like I said, I sharpened with the Washita, the hard, the black, the blue black. After that, I went on my strap, so I wanted to remove the burr. This is a Knives Plus strap. They only have 2 that are loaded with compound that I know about, and this is the 2 micron. So this is the great one to start on, because the first strap you use, you want to remove the burr completely before you move on to your next strap. And then you have your green compound, which is a 0.5 micron. So I did those 4 stones, went to the white Knives Plus strap, and then the green Knives Plus strap, and finished on that. And the results made for a ridiculously sharp and amazing knife. Funny story about this knife. You can't find this, at least I couldn't find this, in any Meijer store, nor on their website. So I don't know if they discontinued this, but what it says, if you can, I don't know if it's readable from this angle, but this is a Meijer brand and it's at home with Meijer. And like I had said before, it's an 8-inch chef's knife. It says stainless Taiwan on the back for the steel, but it's a high carbon stainless steel. And this bolster, I can't remember what alloy it is. And then you have this handle, which is, it's nice. It grips to your hand very well. So if your hands were wet, I'm not sure what this material is, but it's kind of sticky. So if your hands are wet and you're trying to cut some vegetables, it shouldn't slip out of your hands. So like I said, you cannot find this knife, at least I could not find it. eBay luckily had someone that was selling it. And so anyways, the way I found out about this knife is I sharpened knives for my friend, or I sharpened knives for my friends, and one of my friends had this knife, and I was like, hey, can I sharpen this knife for you? And then he had a whole set of these. I think they got it as a wedding gift or something. So, hey, can I sharpen your knives? And when I'm getting these things, I'm thinking, okay, these are Meijer knives. These are going to be kind of junky, one of those sets that you buy for $30 to $50, and you have your steak knives and whatever. I was thinking, this is probably going to be kind of a junky knife, but I've run out of knives to sharpen, so I'm going to ask him if he'll let me sharpen on this. So he said yeah, and then I started sharpening on this knife, and I couldn't believe how quickly it created a burr. When they made this knife, they did a very good job. The heat treat must be just fantastic. I was very shocked because I've used a lot of kitchen knives from like stores like I had mentioned, and just trying to create a burr on some of these, it just seems like a waste of time. The steel's so bad that it's hard even on diamond stones to create a good burr. I'm sure sharpeners out there know what I'm talking about some of those knives. So anyways, the edge that you can get on this and then how easy it is to sharpen impressed me. So I remember after I had sharpened this for him, it was one of the sharpest edges I'd ever gotten, and I told him, gosh, you have a really good knife here. I can't believe the quality of this knife. for, from a Meijer knife. It really blew my mind. So he's like, really? Oh, okay. So, he used it and his wife uses it, and they said it was nice and sharp and they enjoyed it. But after that, I looked and I could not find any at home with Meijer knives forever. And then I randomly looked somewhat recently and then found this, like I said, on eBay. So yeah, if you can get your hands on this knife and you like this kind of a knife, obviously there are so many choices these days, but this knife takes a ridiculously fine edge, as you'll see when we get to the cut test. So I haven't used this knife a ton. My review is mostly on how it sharpens, what kind of edge it takes. I mean, I've used it before to cut vegetables and such. It's comfortable. It's a chef's knife. For me, I don't really care. If it's a chef's knife and it takes a good edge, I'm going to like the knife. Ergonomics are good. That matters. And yes, the belly of the blade and how big the blade is and how it feels. Okay, yeah, these are all important things. But for me, I can make most chef's knives work. Obviously, if they can take a good edge, I'm just going to cut vegetables, and regardless of how thick the edge is and how big of a belly there is on it, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to use it, and so very good knife still. Can't say enough. Okay, gosh, I think that brings us to the knife test. Let's see how sharp this little bugger got, huh? So the first test I want to do is the hair whittling test. See how well this can cut hair. I don't know how well the camera's picking that up. This knife is definitely very, very sharp. It's just whittling this hair like crazy. Oh, just cut the hair in half. Yeah, so many times it just keeps cutting the hair in half, but alright. Now for the paper towel cut test. Paper cut test. Do it this way first. Hello. How about we cut some vegetables? Oh yeah. So many of my vegetables are frozen because they were towards the top shelf, and our refrigerator is set to, I guess, a lot colder than it should be. So even though this thing, bananas are very easy to cut, but this should still demonstrate, I'll just no pressure it, how sharp that guy is. So just running the knife across. Oh. But a mushroom cut test. See how frozen this bell pepper is. So this edge is very sharp. Definitely going to be very useful in the kitchen. Obviously, a little overkill. Doesn't need to be quite this sharp, but us sharpeners like to take it to the limit. Alright, got one. You think that landed on my toe? It's got to be a good knife scare in every sharpening video or every knife video. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do is just cut this onion, and that will conclude this video. But I appreciate you watching, and if there are any other videos you'd like to see in the future, I was considering actually doing a full sharpen video of this knife with the same stones that I showed. That way you can see my method, because it is kind of a difficult sharpen with stones of that size. Those stones are 4 inches and this chef's knife is 8 inches. So I could show you kind of how I do it. It's definitely a little bit more difficult on smaller stones, but it can be done. Put you in your handcuff. Yeah, so this is a very nice fine edge. It's got a nice bite to it, and it is just very, very sharp. Doesn't take any effort to go through the onion, which is just nice. It's a little overkill. You don't need this fine of an edge in the kitchen, but it is nice. It's nice to have. This is not normally how I cut an onion. It's funny, all these vegetables in my fridge are almost frozen solid. Definitely need to not let it be as cold. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and let me know if there are any other videos you'd like to see in the future, and we'll see you in the next video.